but it's also, just have more fun and enjoy the
I
moment and enjoy
know.
the planet, enjoy this place.
Yes. And I find that deeply spiritual
Exactly,
to have
exactly,
fun.
exactly.
So I've called Lenerd Louw in today and said, let's have an interview before I'm off to sail the seas. We've walked an incredible journey. I feel I've also learned a lot from you. So that's why I thought it's a nice time just to sort of encapsulate something about the work that I'm doing, how it overlaps with your work, and also where I see it moving, where I see this work moving. And then when I say this work, what is this work? Is I would say when we pay attention to the body, how we are in the body, and how we are with our sensuality specifically, and how that impacts our entire life and sense of being.
Mm.
And a lot of the information, or I learned a lot of things from you, specifically about the male body, because I work in intimacy, and a lot of my clients are men, also couples, and also women, but
Mm.
a
Mm.
lot of my clients are men. And I am sitting here in a female body and I'm giving men advice in their sensual lives. So I have to have learned this on a practical term from someone, and that's been you,
Oh, it's
which
a
really
pleasure.
helped me along my journey.
Mm.
It's such a embodied physical kind of work.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No, it's a pleasure, and it's always a two-way process. I learned a lot from same process with from you. So it's beautiful.
Mm, mm. Yeah. So I was just saying to you before we started filming that I have this YouTube channel, and I've noticed that the majority of my following is men of the age of 65 and above.
Oh wow,
And I find that
fascinating.
quite interesting. Mm.
That's amazing. That's actually I wasn't aware of that, but that's beautiful news.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
one can check the stats and then you
yeah,
get an idea of who you're speaking to.
sure, and also the fact that it is like that it's over 65, because
Yes.
often people think that if you're over 65 or 60 or 70, that's the end of your sexuality and your sex life. And almost, previous generation, maybe our parents and so, um, and their generation, it was like, yeah, do you actually still make love, and are you still connected to your sexuality if you're over a certain age?
Yeah,
So
even
it's
over
amazing.
50, even over 50, some people think, no, everything shuts down. But so
Yeah.
many people are still interested to expand in this age.
Exactly, and there's no reason why not. And yeah, I've got so many friends around the world that that I've done together with, and been at their trainings, and sexuality teachers and tantra teachers, and from a lot of different schools, and you know, men and women in their 70s. Some of them are now their late 70s, still teaching sexuality and like fully
Yeah,
embodying it and living it.
yeah,
And that's a bit away from where I am, and I it's just inspirational for me to see, um, and I can't see why that will stop when they're in their late 80s, so it could still be
yeah.
the same. Um, so yeah, I think it's wonderful. It's really amazing to hear that.
Yeah, and it's nice to see the interest. I find with my clients that the I'll say let's speak about men now.
Mm.
That well, I can say that about women. Really, I can actually say it about anyone. I find people that pay attention to their sensual well-being, their physical enjoyment, the enjoyment of their bodies. They still
Mm.
like sex. They still like making love. I find they have a more enthusiastic approach to life. and they're more relaxed. They tend to take on things. They tend to be more forgiving and loving and open and more young looking. So in general, it seems like a good practice to continue for as long as one can.
I would say so. And the other side of that coin, the contrary is that, yeah, sometimes, you get the grumpy old men, or the like men and women in older space where it's a little bit like this, and a bit
Yes,
negative and a bit
yes,
judgmental, and almost very restricted
yes,
in their whole, not just thinking, but their whole body language. And I often think it is because they're not having sex, and they're not having orgasms, and they're not having intimacy and lovemaking. Because if you're not, then I would be pretty sad and miserable, and probably not fun to be around if I wasn't
yeah.
moving sexual energy in my body.
Yeah, yeah. And it's funny thing, our discussion is now moving towards like the older people thing, but
Mm,
I think it's an interesting topic
mm,
to look at.
sure.
Uh, the, I think it's a valid point to also say that a lot of people would say they lose interest in lovemaking or sex when they get older because their genitals are not the same as what they used to be. So a woman's genitals will not be as like soft or moist as it used to be, or they might not even feel as aroused anymore, or a man might not, you know, feel he doesn't perform like he used to. So one would immediately think because of the and degeneration of the genitals, basically the functioning of the genitals, that with that the sexuality goes away. And I think the one attitude would be, okay, lovemaking is all about genitals, so we need to pay attention to the genitals and the performance of the genitals. And another attitude that I've been talking about is you still have intimacy with your partner, but it's not only genital based. So it shifts. Your focus starts shifting.
Sure.
That's how I see it.
Sure, I agree with that. And there's also something else popping up for me as you're talking, and that is the old saying that we probably all kind of heard when we were younger. If you don't use it, you lose it. And I promise you that is so true. So that's a bit broader than just
Yeah,
just the
yeah.
energy, but also including the genitals, but also including the energy, and the mindset. So even if it is, not even genital, is that just the fact that, are you feeling the energy? Are you thinking about sex? Are you, as you say, intimate with your partner?
Touching each other, even just touching hands or stroking or hugging or kissing and just being together.
Exactly,
Yeah,
exactly. Or are you shutting that off?
yeah.
And example that came up for me is that, like 10 years ago, in my late 40s, I was, traveling the world for 5 years, and that first year, I had like a celibacy for almost for a year or two, and I stopped not just having sex. I also stopped self-pleasuring, like masturbation almost, and also really thinking about sex. And in my late 40s, mid to late 40s, which is pretty young, I would think, I actually also started feeling my almost getting disconnected from my sexuality.
One can consciously shut it down
Exactly. And I
or
would
pay
be
attention.
yeah,
Yeah.
sure. And I would be walking in South America, this beautiful woman there. And I love, as you know, love women, and I love beautiful women. And I would eventually not even look at these girls walking past me, which is so unlike me. And then, yeah, luckily I came, across some beautiful people and beautiful women that taught me. And I'd listen, even if you celibate, still move the energy in your body, which I then did.
And
Which
self pleasure,
self
it's a good
pleasure,
thing.
exactly. And
Yes.
then, that obviously then very quickly came back. I luckily didn't do the don't use it, lose it. I got it back.
Yeah.
But the point I actually wanted to make is that was in my late 40s. and which is pretty young, and I almost lost the connection.
Yes.
Whilst now, and believe it or not, I still kind of getting used to that number, but I turned 60 this year, and I have a lot more sexual energy, vibrant energy than I had for those few months in my 40s because I shut it down.
Because of that attitude.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's sorry for the
And
long point, but it's basically
yes,
it's comparing the late 40s to the 60s. That's why I say I think it's age is irrelevant to what the age is, because
yeah,
sure, that's the late 40s
yeah.
that happened, and then now at the age of like 60, when I wake up every morning, uh, as we may know, what the wood they call in America, I think the wood in South Africa and in the UK they call it
Morning glory.
morning glory,
Yes.
which is with a really rock hard erection. So that's when I wake up every morning. I have this big hard erection that I sometimes, I can either in self pleasure, just enjoy it, or I just lie there and feel it. But the fact is, there's all this energy and this testosterone in my body's still happening because I'm still connected to my sexuality. So yeah,
And that gives you a sense of vibrancy, aliveness,
exactly.
wanting to go out and do fun stuff and participate in life. So if you
Sure.
don't have that, you don't have that enthusiasm for life kind
Sure.
of thing. Yeah, and
Yeah.
you're right. It can even happen with younger people, when you just say, oh, I'm only going to focus on work, or I'm going to be a good person and not, sometimes we think being all sexual is not, then you're not being good, So it's better to shut it down.
Oh, that's crazy. You lose all your playfulness in life,
Yes.
Like you,
Yes.
you're right. It could be in your 20s.
You
So we're
can.
talking late 40s, but it can be your late 20s, and you get so stressed out with work and stuff, and get so focused and get so serious about life that you totally forget to be playful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and enjoy your body. Yeah, and Jim, and allow yourself to have those spaces where you totally relax into your body, feel your body. And so in the same sentence, I basically want to say, if we say, okay, pay attention to your sexuality, I don't encourage people to go off and on your own to go and watch porn, for instance, because that even removes you even further from really connecting with your body.
Sure.
Rather go out, find someone to make love to, or properly make love to yourself, but get your body engaged in the activity rather than only watching it.
Exactly. I mean, listen, if you're so disconnected and you whatever, I mean, maybe porn could be good to just watch a bit of it just to get, oh wow, to remember that there is something like sex, So maybe there is.
How does it work again?
Yeah, exactly. I'll show some pictures. Not that it's really great education of how lovemaking goes, but it may just kickstart it. But yeah, definitely. I think that will just get you into your mind more rather than in your body.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Just being in the sunshine. I mean, it's also pleasure, plus lying in the sun, lying naked in the sun.
Exactly. Just being physical, just being in your body, just enjoying your body. Sure. Yeah, lying in the sun naked, taking all your, something like that can be so nourishing. Yeah. Which brings me to the next point. It's very much on my personal journey. So I've been working with sexuality, sensuality, guiding people to feel their bodies more. But the reason why I'm doing it really is that at the age of 49, I'm 55 now. At the age of, I can't believe it's only the other day. At the age of 49, I had a major awakening, but it was a spiritual awakening that ran hand in hand with a sexual awakening. And like the term that I use for it is a Kundalini awakening. One of the perks of a Kundalini awakening is that you can have full body orgasms for long periods of time. And I thought, hey, I figured out how to do this. I want to teach other people. Okay. But working with sexuality, and then in my own life, also really meditating and feeling this energy and asking questions of like this orgasmic energy that we're feeling through the body. Like, why why am I teaching this to people? Why am I guiding people to make to enjoy their lovemaking more, to make love for longer? Why am I guiding them to feel this pleasure through their whole bodies all the way to the top of their heads? Like, why? The one reason is better connection with your partner, health for your own body.
Mm.
But I've really been inquiring into what is this stream of like bliss that we feel through our bodies? What is the orgasm? And even when I go and read other spiritual teachers like Eckhart Tolle, who's that guy that wrote Conversations with God?
Neil Donald Walsh.
He's got a wonderful chapter. We had this discussion with God about like what's an orgasm, and God says like I'm right in there. Like
Beautiful.
that's where you meet. Like God is right there.
Yes, yeah, beautiful.
And even now, speaking about people that are getting older and encouraging people that this avenue through the body, this like deep surrender through the body, I literally see it as a kind of a preparation for understanding yourself as an immortal being. I want to say preparing yourself for death, or maybe preparing oneself for knowing yourself as the eternal life. But that we have the opportunity through this sensuality, sexuality, to really meditate into the body, to really feel the body, to really surrender into the body. And these orgasms are like they become like spiritual
Sure.
unity within oneself.
Oh, sure. I mean, and that is talking about different ages. I mean, that's even in my 20s, long before I did any tantra or any Taoism or anything. Just I started my life the first time when I was 21. But in my 20s, that's the most mystical spiritual experiences I've ever had. Was like when I started making love and having these orgasms and having a girlfriend with me, having an orgasm, having it together at the same time. It was super mystical, super spiritual. It's like that's where, as Eckhart Tolle says, that's where you meet God, and I wasn't at all in a spiritual journey then, but I knew it, attached it. And now I understand it a bit better, but more from a mind space. Even then, I realized, wow, this is divine. This is the existence. This is the oneness. This is God. This is actually the essence of everything. So I think that is just a beautiful meditation to be in and to keep on doing that if it's on your journey or your road for the rest of your life, because why would you want to not have? It's just a beautiful way to connect with God.
With someone, with God, with one's
Universe.
essence. And even this whole thing of tantra, tantra shmantra, tantra, often it gets so confused. People tend to think tantra is all about sex. And it often happens that you see tantra teachers that get totally mystified and totally intrigued by the sex, and they sort of get stuck on the sex part. And I go, oh, I can understand why, it's very alluring always. But the essence of tantra is really about using the body and the sensuality and like really surrendering into the body, so that one can come to this realization that you are not separate, but part of the divine essence, that you're an energetic being, really. That's actually what tantra is leading towards.
Sure, and that's a very fast way of awakening and spiritual growth is through sexuality, or tantra, sacred sexuality, love making, whatever you call it. Is that, as you say, it's like the massive health benefits of making love and feeling that energy running through your body, energizing you. The Zoom call with someone yesterday, and before that I was pretty tired, so I just went to lie in the sun there on the deck. I only had like 15 minutes, and I felt the sun on my body, and then I thought, wow, it's only 15 minutes. I need to move some energy to refresh myself. And then I just self-pleasured a little bit, not even a lot, but right to the edge of almost ejaculating and then breathing it up. And I got up and I sat down here for the call, and I was wide awake, and I was super refreshed and felt super healthy. So getting a bit sidetracked, but so from the health part to the energy part, and then to the spiritual awakening part, where you can really expand your awareness and your connection. You call it the vertical line. Talk about Eckhart Tolle, the vertical line with spirit and God and the universe, and then the horizontal line being our in a 3D world, making a living and surviving or thriving.
Our connection with the things around us on this plane.
Exactly.
Like this.
Like in the exactly. The three he calls it the horizontal axis, which I really love it, because that's like making a living and eating and having afford rent and so on, or a house. And then a vertical is like your connection with spirituality and nature and God. And by making love, you also access that part. Obviously you have the recreational 3D part of it also, which is beautiful and enjoyment in your body. But then you also have this vertical axis that you totally very quick and very fast connect into. And there are also other ways to do that. You can meditate on a mountain in India for 10 years or so, and that would also help the vertical axis. And there's also sexuality that can do it. And that is so fast. That is the fastest way I have seen, or I have experienced, in terms of awakening yourself, awakening your spirituality, starting vibrating and transmitting that to people around you, is through sexuality. So and that's often, as you say, sometimes missed. And there's nothing wrong going to Tantra to have sex, and maybe one hasn't had a lot of sex in your life, and then Tantra could be an avenue to have sex, and that's beautiful. And then you get into the body, and that is amazing. And then it can go further, and it can go into really starting accessing the vertical axis and really connected with spirit and universe and God, and also with the earth, and how that enriches your life, because now you're going to a total another sphere of inner peace, inner happiness, inner connectedness, inner trust, inner surrender. So much more peace.
Enjoyment. And so this thing of connecting, like you say, through the body, on this plane that you just spoke about. I think that's where the big difference comes in, because we say sexuality is a highway of meditation into this divinity inside. It's like a super quick way to get into your body. But often when you say we're working in sexuality, people will look at it through the lens of how the world often represents sexuality, which can be very surface or only genital based, or maybe porn stuff, or maybe super unconscious, whatever. And then go, oh no, sexuality is bad. But if we approach it in this way, and we can say the tantric way, where you just explained how you breathe up your spine, you don't ejaculate, all these things, you can make love for a longer time, there's deeper connection. So I see all these tantric techniques as a way of taking spirituality into this plane that you just spoke about, this connection. So instead of it just staying in this chakra, this center, through various techniques, like don't ejaculate so quickly. It's not about just this. Through various techniques where you breathe up and you take that blitz sensation, what you're basically doing is you're lighting up your other chakras with this pleasure, with awareness. So even if we're teaching somebody not to ejaculate too quickly, and like you're going to make love longer, you keep this energy in your body, what you also on another level doing is you're starting to open this celestial channel through the body. And And this spiritual connection, I don't see as a spiritual connection to some dogma, some other name, something that we can even give a name, like God look like this, or spirituality looks like this. It's very simple. This you, inside yourself, and whatever, this, for me, that's true spirituality. You're
Sure.
not following someone else, something outside, but you go in.
Sure.
in.
Yeah, and then bringing people to that place, and often, the beauty of this, or the challenge of it, is both beauty and challenge is sometimes to get people to that, the sexuality, and learning about maybe making love for longer is the gateway. Just to start talking to some people, not everyone. A lot of people get it, but you need to do this so you can, that's sometimes too difficult, so you can ascend, or you can, like, you know, drop into this vertical axis and spirituality and stuff.
That seems inaccessible.
But it seems
Yes,
inaccessible.
difficult. Yes.
Yeah, and sometimes all it is it could just be a simple. What I find. So to talk about my find is that it's so amazing to get the guys and the people to get to that space that you just talked about. But often the entry point is just guys come and say, "Wow, I want to make love for longer."
Yeah.
And that is just a beautiful place, because then,
yes.
and I want to pleasure my partner more. And then that's just a beautiful place then to teach them that you can breathe this energy up and you can last longer. And it helps them make love for longer. And yes, it helps them please their partner more. But what they then actually realize is that it's actually not even about their partner anymore. It's about themselves and their own their own pleasure, and they drop into their own body and their own self-love. And then they start feeling their pleasure even more, and they breathe this up, and then all of a sudden this whole thing changes. I've seen it so many. I do these groups of like 21 days for like 20, 30 guys at a time, guided group journey, sometimes one-on-one, but sometimes groups. And what these guys, then I've often had so many guys come and they say, like, wow, I thought it was actually about my partner, but I actually now realized, wow, it's about, and then they breathe this up, and then a lot of other stuff happens. Self-love, then they drop into their own heart and their own self-love. And then, as you say, the other chakras just naturally then light up without them really even wanting to go there. The whole world expands, the whole spirituality space for them expands.
Exactly.
And then the feedback I've often had then that they say from their partners is that the partners say, wow, this was even more pleasurable, because I realized you weren't, and I felt you were not trying to do anything to me and pleasure me.
Yeah.
You were just in your own pleasure and in your own power. And then that was so much more exciting for me and so beautiful for me. And then they, in any event, had more fun. But it's so amazing to see these guys then getting to that, Isn't that beautiful? So it's like a journey. It's amazing, Leán, and it's amazing what you are doing and the work you're doing. And it's just taking people on the journey, and the different people will enter at different points.
Yes, you're right. Yeah, and just doing those very simple day-to-day little practices, enjoying your body more, enjoying lovemaking more, and then, like you say, for each person, it's going to be unique, whatever they are going to integrate within themselves as they line up their chakras. But you don't even have to tell them you're lining up your chakras. You're creating a celestial connection. You're finding God inside yourself. It sort of naturally happens.
Yep.
So that's the one aspect. And then I really like what you say. And now I can't remember what I wanted to say. There's another thing that you said. It's like, oh my word. Yeah. So the one is you give them the normal little things to do, and it just naturally happens. Now I can't remember what was the other thing. Partner. Oh yes, it was that thing. Such a big point. The pleasuring of the partner. I get there's so much male bashing going on, and men are so aware that they need to be considerate. Now, every single man that comes to a session for me, he tells me this. He says, I am totally focused on pleasing my partner. And I go, okay, it sounds lovely, but you are so boring. But don't tell them that yet.
I love that.
So I find whenever I take a new lover, the first thing I test is, can he feel?
Mm.
Because like this whole idea of this is only for my partner, it's like going to a party and only one person must have a good time. You know, let's all have a good time, then the party's so much better. And you're right, you know, when a person can tap into their own body, and this is what I teach women as well, the most empowering thing that you can do with your sensuality or sexuality is to know how to access your own presence within your own body. And also would like my lover that I'm with to access their own pleasure, their own presence in their body, and then come to me. You know,
Exactly.
then you're
It's super
totally
sexy.
switched on.
Yeah, and it also takes the pressure off the other person, you know. I mean, now this guy's partner and wife, now she must feels this pressure because he's doing stuff to her. Now she must harness that
She
pressure.
must let go and have fun, and he's going
Yeah.
ding, ding, ding,
And,
ding,
and
ding.
if he just drops into his own pleasure, then she goes to relaxes. And then the moment she
Yeah.
relaxes, orgasms go. You know?
Exactly. Yeah. So it's okay for everyone to have fun.
Exactly.
Okay. I hope this is hopeful.
Hopeful and helpful. Hopeful for the older guys, and then that's like older guys, even if you're 80 or 90, you're not older guys or
Hopeful.
women.
Yes.
But it's hopeful and helpful, I'm sure.
Totally. Totally. Thank you. And fun.
And
Yeah.
fun.
All to
Exactly,
have more
and
fun and to
have
feel
some
more
more fun.
expanded.
Yeah. I mean, can I just say something else?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely.
Session with a guy from the States, from New York, actually, yesterday. He's about mid-50s. And he was talking about a lot of this and, you know, also like feeling the body. And, you know, the one thing that was most beautiful that he said to me is that, and he's quite a serious guy.
80 years old.
No, mid-50s.
Oh, okay.
But he said to me is that, yes, I just want to have more, I want more fun and joy and fun, you know?
Yes.
I would have learned some stuff, but also, and I could see it, it's quite
Exactly.
serious, but it's also, you know, just have more fun and enjoy the moment and enjoy the planet, enjoy this place, you know?
Yes. And I find that deeply spiritual.
Exactly.
To have fun.
Exactly.
Actually, spirituality is not being all boring.
Yeah.
So spirituality, you can be all sensual, you can be sexy, you can have more fun, you're more connected. You're like a bird singing its song, you know?
Yep.
Like, yay.
Yeah,
okay. Yeah, I'm making love to life.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Ach, Lenerd, thank you for your wisdom.
Thank you.
Really
so much.
appreciate it. And for the fun.
Thank you. It's so wonderful talking to you and seeing you in the last few days before last few weeks before you're off on, you know, on your journey. And you're
on a journey. I'm about to embark on a massive journey. It's still a bit of we're not quite telling everyone what it is yet.
Perfect. but
it's going to come soon, and there's going to be a lot of expansion.
Exactly. That's so wonderful.
And fun, lots of fun.
Yeah. So wonderful seeing you.
Yeah.
At this point, and always beautiful talking to you.
Yeah, and I also just want to honor the journey that we've been on together, and the beautiful things we've learned.
Yeah. Love you so much.
Yes, you too. Thanks, Thanks, Lenerd.